Hi, welcome to the Wisdom of Your Soul. I'm Janice Mary. I'm a psychotherapist. Some time ago, I had an amazing experience connecting to my soul energy, and since then, I have such a passion to help people connect to their energy and benefit from it, since I have benefited so much from connecting. So today, the question is, does connecting to the soul energy, does it bring out your spiritual gifts? I think you probably already know the answer. I've done a couple of videos on this already, but I just thought it would be another good time to, kind of recap on it again and to add some more information. So the answer would be yes. Yes, our connecting to our soul energy, this beautiful energy within us, definitely brings out our spiritual gifts. And it makes sense. You're connecting to your spirit. So when you connect to your spirit, the spirit world and the spirit within us is much, much more vast than our bodies and our minds, and so can really open us up. So depending on who you are and how your soul expresses itself is how your gift is going to come out. So you could have the gift of intuition, which is like you just know things. You don't know how you know them, you just know things. You get feelings about things. You could have the gift of mediumship, where you talk to spirits and bring beautiful messages. You could have the gift of clairvoyance. You could be a psychic, where you could see into the future. There are so many different gifts that connecting to the soul energy can bring out within you, depending on your natural abilities. So it's well worth, connecting to this energy, to see, well, what are my gifts? Am I a healer? Am I a medium? Am I a psychic? Does my gift come out in the form of reading cards? Am I a tarot reader? Am I a angel card reader? I mean, there's just so many different ways the soul expresses itself. So it just depends on your interests and what you naturally like. If you like numbers, maybe your soul would express itself through numerology. So there are many ways the soul can express itself given the chance. So if you just kind of, go into that soul energy within you and feel into that energy and let that energy guide you, it's going to guide you in the direction of what your gift is. I know when I first connected to the soul energy, I was very guided to learn about crystals and to meditate and to learn about the chakras, and I was just intuitively guided to do certain things. And after I did those things, it opened me up in ways that I would have never, ever thought in a million years. 10 years ago, if anyone would have said to me, you would have spiritual gifts, I would have laughed. I'm a therapist. Spiritual gifts, what the heck is that? It's just not going to happen for me. Did I know about psychics and mediums? Yes. And I always thought it was really, really cool and had hoped that I had some kind of spiritual gift, but I never ever thought I would have one. Or many. And the more you connect into that energy, the more gifts develop, and you can see for yourself. So if you just imagine, the spirit that lives in you, like another body living within you, that is light and is spirit, it can give you kind of an idea of how to go about connecting to your soul energy, and then also allowing it to express itself. When you're in that soul energy, you are an open vessel to communicate to spirits that have passed on, to communicate to the angelic realm, to communicate to guides, to communicate to animals, because in the spirit realm, that's what's there. So you've got to be able to have access to communicate and receive the love and support that lives in that dimension, which, all this can sound a little crazy, but it's not. And you just have to experience it yourself. I'm a therapist, so I would never, ever in a million years thought that I could have any of these gifts. So if you're kind of skeptical, I don't blame you, because I was too. And it wasn't until I really learned what connecting to my soul energy first was, and then what it did for me, and what it brought out in me. And then it's your choice. It's your choice to do with it what you want. If you find you're a healer, you might want to learn Reiki and have your soul energy expressed that way, or you might not. You might decide to do nothing with it, except enjoy it. The most important thing when we connect to the soul energy is that we find that we're out of our heads. We're not in our ego as much. We have access to more intuition and living more in the flow of life instead of fighting life so hard. So that's just one of the many, many benefits of going into this energy. If you already are a psychic, if you're already a medium, and you want to enhance what you already have, you know the answer is like to meditate and to connect to this energy. And that will strengthen it more and will bring out your gifts more. And, I know a lot of psychics and mediums, and I'll say to them all the time, are you benefiting from the energy that you can connect to? I just saw a medium a little while ago who's having a lot of body pain and headaches, and I asked, well, are you connecting to that energy, the energy that you connect to when you do readings? And the answer is often no, I don't connect to that energy only unless I'm doing a reading. And so my suggestion to everyone out there that wants to build the gifts they already have is to use the energy to help yourself, to help your body, and to detach from it in a sense, so that you can really access more of the soul energy and bring that forth. If you're, trying to be a medium or a card reader and your ego is involved, it's going to block, your connection, because the ego will tell you, you're not good enough to be a reader. You're not as good as this person or that person. The ego won't will really get in the way of your readings. And I've seen a lot of readers block their gifts because the ego is saying you can't do it. So the more you're in the soul energy, the more you know who you are, and you're not letting that ego get in the way. So your readings then become pretty easy because you're not listening to the ego anymore. And if the ego does flare up, you're not going to listen to it. You're just going to allow that connection to be free-flowing, and you're not going to take what the ego says, and you're not going to be scared to give messages as much, and you're going to take more risks, and you're going to let the spirit within you guide you more and just say the things that you want to say. So that's really, really one of the main things that going to the soul energy does for us. It brings out our gifts, and then if we can continue to access this energy, if we can continue to go into your consciousness, your soul consciousness, it's going to, make your gifts stronger and stronger, and it's just going to help your life more and more. I was reading a book the other day, and the author was saying that one of the ways he could tell people's meditation practices was helping was the effect it was having on their lives. Like, were their lives becoming easier? Did they notice more synchronicities? Did they, all of a sudden, everything seemed to be falling into place? Doors start opening. When you go into the soul energy and you're meditating and you're in that place more, that's what starts happening in your life. Things become very easy, and things that used to seem like problems kind of disappear, because the spirit knows the better way. The spirit knows what's going to be easier for you, which path to take, and is going to intuitively guide you. So I thought that was a really, really interesting tip that this reader got from his meditation teacher, was that really he wasn't so concerned about the actual meditation, what was happening in the meditation, whether the person, was able to relax or clear their thoughts or having visions. He wasn't worried. He wasn't so concerned about what was happening during meditation. But what he was much, much more interested in was the effect the meditation was having on his life. And that just really struck me, because I know since I have connected to my soul energy and have been more meditative in my life and have really disconnected as much as I can from the ego, my life has gotten easier. Things that I didn't think could happen have happened. And even though I still have many, many challenges, I seem to get through the challenges much, much easier. So I could see what he was talking about and how significant that is. That, when we connect to this consciousness, when this greater energy that connects us all to each other and then to a whole, when we connect to that, the wisdom that comes out of that is amazing, So your wisdom is needed for this world, So when you connect to your soul energy, you're going to hear things that are very, very wise for your life and for other people. And you're probably going to want to share it like I want to share it. And everybody else that connects to it kind of wants to teach and share it, because it does feel so good and it does help with so many things. And it does bring out all these spiritual gifts. It's like opening up a whole other world for you to explore and enjoy, and really to get much, much more satisfaction in your life. I know I've said this before, but a lot of the clients that I see have such a hard time enjoying their lives and being at peace within. And I think most of us have that. We have a hard time in just enjoying the moment and really just relaxing and knowing that everything is okay. When we're caught up in the ego of not enoughness, that takes over and really robs us of the moment. So, connecting to the soul energy really helps in breaking us free from doing all of that and from living too much into the future and living too much into the past. So, to just stop for a moment and to realize that you're so much more, and you have all these gifts within you that you want to bring out and use for yourself and for other people, is really an amazing, amazing thing to watch happen to other people. I do a mediumship group where people get together and meditate and talk, and the group is just like really growing, and their gifts are just blossoming. I co-lead it with a friend of mine, Cindy, and we were just talking the other day of how the people in the group, we could see their gifts just really deepening and really taking off. And that is a result of them connecting more and more to this energy. So through meditation, through the group itself, that acts like a battery, helps people get in touch with their spiritual gifts. And some people in the group are more psychic, some people more intuitive, some people are more mediumistic, and it's just such a pleasure to see it. So I want that for you too. I want you to be able to develop whatever gift lies within you. And the gift that you have usually really you're very passionate about, so you're going to really enjoy it. So you don't really have a gift that you're not going to really enjoy. If you do have a gift and you find you're not enjoying it, it's probably because the ego has a hold of it. The ego is probably telling you that, you can't do it, or you're not good enough, or whatever the ego is trying to say to you. So the answer to the ego is really just more going deeper into the soul. So to the extent that you're in your ego is to the extent we have to go into this energy. So if your ego is extremely strong and telling you a lot of negative, critical things about you, then you have to go deeper into the soul energy to heal, so that you can see from the soul's perspective. And the soul's perspective is just never, ever going to agree with anything that the ego has to say to you, because in the soul's energy, it's hard to even put words to. You have to experience it. So the ego we experience through thoughts and then through feelings, and that is real. It feels real, and it is real in the body. But when you have the experience of the soul, it's a completely different experience. It's an experience of knowing that you're much more than this body, and you're much more than what this ego is trying to tell you. And that is a much, much more pleasurable experience, because it's full of love and support and guidance. And that's not really, the ego doesn't talk to you that way. The ego talks to you through fear and through demands and through deficit, where the soul talks to you through abundance. So it's very easy to know who you're talking to, whether your ego has you or the soul has you. You can just tell by the way you feel, and you can tell by the tone of the voice that you're feeling and experiencing. So it's really important to identify that, so that you can say, okay, my ego has me right now. And the more that I let this ego talk, and the more that I consider this ego, the more ingrained it gets. So the ego is a set of conditioned beliefs. So everything that I think about myself is based in my past, and what I have perceived from my parents, from my friends, from my family, from the outer world, from TV, from everything that I've ever experienced. And from my perspective, my ego has created a story about me, and is usually very harsh, and has been very harsh with me, about the deficits of who I am and what I've done with my life. And that's really what the ego does. So this belief system that I have is really very, very faulty, but it is based in somewhat of truth. It is. I did have those experiences, and I did perceive those things, but the ego's spin on it is very, very limited. So, it's not going to help you reach the potential that you really want to reach. The ego will kind of kick you when you're down, and the soul doesn't do that. The soul lifts you up when you're down, and the soul motivates through love. So when you're in the soul energy, you see the truth of the ego. You see that these beliefs that you have, it's almost like you wake up from them and you say, oh my goodness, like, how have I thought all this crap about myself all these years? And that's the experience of the soul. It's like a waking up of yourself and of other people. You wake up to realize that this has never been true about me, and it's also never been true about anybody else, and that we're all connected. So I don't have to compete with other people. I don't have to be better than other people, because we're equal. We're all equal. No matter what the ego is doing, no matter what the ego is saying, we're all equal, and we all come from the same essence and the same energy. So, when you feel that, it's just very different. So as your spiritual gifts develop, you feel that. You feel this connectedness. When you're doing readings, you feel this love coming down and basking you in this amazing love. When you get messages for people, and all the people want to say when they've passed over is how much they love you and how good you are. They're very egoless. They're no longer attached to an ego in spirit. So when you can connect to that, you benefit from that. You benefit from feeling the unconditional love of the spirits that are there. And then you realize you're one of them. You're still in a body, but you're one of them. So that is really the essence of who you are. So you're really getting to know yourself in a very different way when you connect to your soul essence. It feels like a different you, but it's not. It's really who you've been all along. It's just that the ego covers up your true essence, so you haven't been able to feel it, see it, and develop it. So when we kind of challenge those beliefs and say, you know what, I've believed a lot of things about myself that I'm just not going to believe anymore, and you really put all those beliefs on the shelf, is when you give yourself a little bit of that break from thinking. And when you have that break from thinking, you get to be in this more conscious energy that lives within your body. So that's what you want to do, is that you want to disengage from those thoughts. I wrote a post this morning about thinking, that our thoughts think themselves, just like any other body part, our thoughts just go. It's just what our mind does. It creates thoughts. And because some of them are based in our perceptions, they feel true, but they're not. We misperceive all the time. It's like that game telephone. So if we're misperceiving things a lot, especially when we were younger, we could take, our parents could be having a hard day and we take it personally. So we misperceive things left and right. So we don't want to stay in those beliefs. We want to create something new in each moment. So in the present, you really are born again, to the present. You're saying, my past is no longer going to define me. Yes, I've had these experiences, and some of them have been great and some of them have been not so good, and that's life. But I'm not going to take all these experiences and focus on the negative ones and use it as something to beat myself up with. That's not something any of us should want to do. So when you connect to the soul, you can see what you've been doing, exactly what you've been doing for many, many years. And the soul will show it to you. The soul energy helps you to see this reality. And it's a much, much, much more beautiful reality. It's a supportive reality. It's the reality of love. And, you're not going to be able to intellectually grasp it. It's not something you can intellectually grasp. It's just something you have to experience. And to experience it, you probably have experienced it in moments, when you've been doing something creative, when you're going on walks, when you're laughing, when you're at a concert and everybody is singing a song all together. Maybe when you've gone to a workshop and everybody's in like mind and you're really enjoying what you're hearing. When you're doing line dancing and everybody's doing the same dance and laughing, and it's really a fun time. In all those moments you're connecting to your soul and your soul essence. And during those moments when you're doing these things, you're not really thinking that much, you're just experiencing. And that's what you want to get to more of the time. You want to be out of your ego and you want to be into your soul energy more of the time. And when you do that, you're just going to feel so much better, because that ego voice will start to get turned down little by little. And you may not even notice how much it's being turned down. I can see with my clients sometimes that they're just not reacting to their life in this really, really harsh, negative way anymore. That something just shifts within them and they notice it, but it's really, really subtle. So you have to give yourself some time to see the changes and the shifts. And, really the way to do it is really just to kind of go within the body and feel this energy and visualize this body that lives within you, that spirit. You could even visualize the spirit coming out of you and walking outside of your body and just looking at that spirit and see what that spirit does. Once that spirit leaves your body, where does it go? What is it doing? Is it dancing? Is it painting? What is that spirit doing? Because that's really the essence of who you are. Is that spirit doing cards? Is that spirit doing mediumship? What is that? Is that spirit painting? What is that spirit doing? That spirit is you. So you can kind of separate from it so that you could see it a little bit, so that you could really feel that true essence. it's not that hard, but the ego makes everything hard. And the ego, is going to want to say to you, well, this is crazy, and, I don't really believe in any of this stuff, and now this is a little bit too far for me. And the ego always resists anything that might affect it. It wants to be in charge. The ego, like a child, wants to be in charge and wants to rule you and wants to, ego wants you to play by its rules. And you don't want to agree with that anymore. You don't want to be harsh with yourself. You want to be loving and kind to yourself. And it's hard to be loving and kind to yourself when you don't feel like you're that good, or when you don't feel like you're deserving of that. When you might feel, that you're thinking about all the bad things that you've done, or, you're just giving yourself a hard time. It's really hard to then turn around and say, oh, I love myself, or I like myself. It's almost impossible for people. So I think that could be a little bit difficult. So definitely, continue a meditation practice. 5 minutes is all that it takes. Just sit and try to feel the energy moving inside of you. What does this energy feel like to you? Is it a vibration? What is the energy? What does it feel like to you? And just connect to that more. Connect to your breath. Do some nice deep breathing. When we go into the body, then we move out of the ego. Eckhart Tolle talks a lot about that, and he's a wonderful person to listen to. He has a lot of great tips on how to connect to this he calls it consciousness. I think it's the same thing. And, he talks about just becoming very present. If you become very present, you can connect to the energy better, because in the presence, when you're using all your senses again, that's when you can stop thinking so much. So what do you, looking outside, what do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? To keep grounding yourself to the present. I have a client that labels things that she does, and that helps her remember staying in the present. She'll say, now I'm walking, now I'm sitting, now I'm eating. So this way it keeps her out of her thoughts and into the present. And when you do that, you really can access this energy much better. You can feel it much better. And when you're in this energy more and more, then you start feeling the benefits, like that meditation teacher was talking about. You start to see it in your life. You start to feel calmer. Your anxiety starts to subside. You don't worry as much. You get a lot more done because you don't really have such an attachment to the outcome. So there's really nothing you need to be doing, that's resting kind of on your ego. The ego is always like, you have to get this done, you have to get that done, you have to do all this to be worthy. So when you now know you're worthy, you don't have to really get anything done. You do things now for the enjoyment of doing them. And that's a big, big shift. So when you're meditating and you're connecting to this spirit within you, this spirit body within you, you're going to feel very, very different. You're going to kind of know things more. You might be sitting with somebody and pick up on how they're feeling. You might hear things. You might start to hear things that are connected to them. So it's really fun. It's very magical, and it's really fun to develop the gifts when you're sitting in this energy. So if you just keep picturing that there's another body within your body that is so much more knowledgeable and has all these gifts, if you could visualize that, I think it will help. And if you already have spiritual gifts, visualize that. Keep visualizing that for yourself, because that will help you connect better, and it also will help you to stay out of your ego, which would sometimes just blocks things. So whatever gift that you have, the more you do this, the more you'll notice it. In the beginning it might just be synchronicities. You might start seeing numbers. A lot of people will start seeing 22, 32, 33. They'll see double numbers, so they'll see 1111. So that's like the beginning. Or you'll start seeing dimes, you start getting messages from your loved ones, you start seeing birds, butterflies, rainbows, all the things that the people in spirit send to us continuously, but we don't notice it. But when you're more in that spirit soul energy, you start noticing everything. You start seeing, wow, oh my goodness, that it's like the third time I got a feather, or I keep seeing dimes, They've always been there, but when we connect more spiritually, we just see that. We see them. It's almost like the path to seeing becomes much, much clearer. And that's something that when you're in your ego head thinking, and worrying and thinking, you're not going to see. You miss all those signs because you're too busy. You're too busy trying to quiet down the ego. Most of us are ruled by, what the ego wants us to do, the to-do list of the ego. And, we have to quiet that ego down to feel the soul and to feel all these things that are happening and for it to highlight the path for us. And it does. It highlights a different path. It's like you all of a sudden start seeing things that probably were always there that you just never noticed because you're so preoccupied in this ego mind that you just miss it. So, develop this, work on this so that you could see, well, what is your gift? It's really exciting. It's really fun, So whether you're a medium, whether you're a psychic, whether you're very, very intuitive, whether you're an empath, gifts also include creativity, writing, drawing, anything that you love and have a passion around is a gift. Is a gift from your spirit because it really touches on the essence of you. And it does because the passion you feel about it just is kind of very different than other passions that you may have tried. So you'll do things that maybe you would have never done before because you're so passionate about doing. You will you'll do things for free. You'll do things without any care for an outcome because you just love what you're doing so much. So I want that for you. I want you to develop this, and I want you to get out of the ego because the ego just replays the same thoughts over and over. It's really just like a replay button that we hit. And those same thoughts that get replayed, and we react to those same thoughts. And then, other people can trigger those same thoughts in us. And it's just really, really painful. So to say, you know what, I'm going to really try this. I'm going to really try to realize that these thoughts are not the whole of me, that there's something much, much bigger and more magical and more loving that lives right within me. And all I have to do is turn to it. That's all I have to do is ask and turn to it and feel it and give it some space to grow. It's something you have to nurture. When you first open up to a spiritual gift, it doesn't come in overnight. You don't become a medium overnight or a psychic overnight. It takes many, many, many years of practicing. But it's because that it takes that time for us to keep turning to the soul energy or this spirit energy within us. So we have to give ourselves some time and we have to have patience for ourselves. But when you touch this essence of who you are, you'll know what I'm talking about. And when you feel that, you'll want to keep going back to that more and more. Because you'll know that something really magical just happened to you. And that there's something there that really, really is worth your time to explore and to delve deeper into. And that's a gift in and of itself. This is not an easy world to live in without connection to your soul, your spirit. It buffers everything. It gives you a sense of peace that you've never ever felt before. And it's within us. It's right at our fingertips. It's right within us. So It is the energy that all spiritual teachers point to. It's what every spiritual teacher that I've ever listened to talks about in one shape, form, or another. That's what it really comes down to, is that, you are part of something much, much bigger, and you are much, much more than you realize. And this essence of you is so, so special and deserves your attention to express it. So you've probably been expressing it like maybe 5%, and we all want to work on expressing it 95%. So that's our work. Our work is to really let go of this very old way of thinking, of listening to this ego, of letting this ego be in charge, and to let these spiritual gifts just flourish and blossom and lead the way for your life. So I hope all this makes sense. If it doesn't, please ask me questions. I would love to answer your questions. And I hope to talk to you live on the radio show, on the psychic.net radio show, psychictalk.net, where the first Monday of every month it's live. So I hope you join me there, and we can talk more about all these fascinating experiences that we're all having and all sharing and all benefiting from. So I hope you really just go within today and just touch the essence of who you are, because you're an amazing, beautiful person, and you deserve to feel that more and feel the ego less. So I hope that helps. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and we'll talk again soon.